Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. Since we're still in the month of February, we're going to do another Valentine's suggestion. And today we are doing the 1993 romantic comedy suspense movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer. As for the trivia question today, who are the 9 members of Stuart Mackenzie's Scottish Hall of Fame? The answer for that will be at the end of this video. In this film, we have Mike Myers starring as Charlie Mackenzie, who is apparently a beat poet, and I can only assume actually is part owner of the coffee shop that he does his poems at. Otherwise, I have no idea how he makes any money. Then, of course, you have Nancy Travis, who plays Harriet Michaels and owns and operates a butcher's shop. The whole film is a weird, quirky little rom-com that takes place in the magical land of San Francisco. Mike Myers ended up getting the role of Charlie Mackenzie due to the huge success he had with Wayne's World. In the film, he not only plays Charlie, but also plays Stuart Mackenzie, Charlie's father. Thomas Chalamet directs the film, but it almost went to Chris Columbus. Chris just finished production on Home Alone 2 Lost in New York when 2 scripts were brought to him. One was for So I Married an Axe Murderer, the other one was for Mrs. Doubtfire. Apparently, he decided to go with Mrs. Doubtfire, which was probably the better choice. The original title of this film was Love and Fear, The Story of a Man Who Cried Wife. You have to wonder if that had anything to do with the reason why Chris Columbus decided not to go with it. There were a lot of great cameos in this movie, including Phil Hartman, Charles Grodin, Stephen Wright, Debbie Mazur, Alan Arkin, Michael Richards, and Mike Haggerty. Apparently, one of the big issues they had with this movie, though, was Mike Myers wanted to have final say on the script. So he made a lot of changes along the way, including the fact that the main premise was going to be more about commitment when it was originally written to be more about paranoia. The role of Charlie Mackenzie was not originally written for Mike Myers. It was originally written for Chevy Chase. He turned it down, and then Woody Allen, Albert Brooks, and even Martin Short tried out for the role. There also were a lot of actresses looked at for the role of Harriet, including Sharon Stone, Nicole Kidman, Kim Basinger, and even Emma Thompson. What's interesting is Sharon Stone almost was given the role, except that she demanded that she play the character of Harriet and Harriet's sister Rose as some sort of weird psychoses. The role of Stuart was originally going to be played by a separate actor. They asked Sean Connery, Anthony Hopkins, and Michael Caine, all of which turned the role down. During the script readings, while they were still trying to find someone else, they loved the voice that Mike Myers kept doing, so they decided to keep him in as Stuart. The voice that Mike Myers does is not only an impression of his own father, but he attributes this character as the beginning phases of how he created Shrek and Fat Bastard. Mae Mackenzie also had a lot of options before landing on Brenda Fricker. Apparently, actresses up for the role were Goldie Hawn, Jane Fonda, Glenn Close, Terry Garr, Anne Bancroft, and even Tina Turner. The reason why they actually went with Brenda Fricker, though, was when Chris Columbus originally looked at the script, he suggested that she would be great as the role of May, as he just finished working with her in Home Alone. She was the pigeon lady. The role of Tony was originally offered to Dan Aykroyd, Jeff Daniels, and Steve Guttenberg, all of which turned it down. The role of the police chief, played by Alan Arkin, was originally offered to John Candy and Rick Moranis, both of which turned it down. Phil Hartman was originally going to play the police chief until they got Alan Arkin, but since both Gary Busey and Leslie Nielsen turned on the role of Vicky, the tour guide, he took that role instead. Not many other people went for the role of Rose, but Ellen DeGeneres did read for it. They unfortunately felt she was just too funny and not serious enough for the character. Michael Richards was able to play the newspaper reporter due to his success with Seinfeld, but the role was originally offered to Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman, and Tim Allen. Here's some interesting pieces of trivia for you. For instance, Stuart Mackenzie mentions to Tony a secret organization called the Pentaveret, which Mike Myers eventually adapts into a Netflix television series. The hotel where the last half of the movie was filmed is actually the Dunsmuir Estate, where they actually shot some scenes for A View to Kill and most of the film Phantasm. The car that Charlie drives is actually the same car that Robert Redford drives in the movie Sneakers. This movie is definitely an oddball romantic comedy. I love the chemistry between Mike Myers and Nancy Travis, but there is a lot of this movie that just seems very confusing and doesn't make much sense. So I'm going to give So I Married an Axe Murderer a 3 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, who are the 9 members of Stuart Mackenzie's Scottish Hall of Fame? You have singer Sheena Easton, inventor Alexander Graham Bell, Prince Charles Edward Stuart, poet Robert Burns, race car driver Jackie Stewart, writer Robert Louis Stevenson, comedian Billy Connolly, entertainer Harry Lauder, and the actor who almost played Stewart, Sean Connery. If you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, please check out our other videos. And as always, if you would like to see anything added into our reviews, put suggestions down in our comments below. And like, comment, share, and subscribe.